What's up, cyberspace cadets? It's IRATE Prostate here, and it's another lovely edition of Ice Cream. That's right. The ice cream concept is, every Sunday we give ourselves a treat, and for me, that treat is spending time with a person that I know and getting to know them better. And some people call that interviewing. So, welcome to the Ice Cream Interviews. And today's guest is a person I've known ever since I really started doing this thing, and she's been steady all along. She's a wonderful person. She's also very mysterious, and we're going to get into some of that cool stuff. But I want to introduce everybody to Thorne, also known as Mrs. Midnight.
Hello. How are you folks doing today?
I hope everybody's doing all right. Yeah. First question I usually ask people is when we get on here is what's the main reason that you started streaming on YouTube? Just go ahead and get into that, and then we'll follow it up.
So, anybody who's been around for a hot minute knows that my channel was actually originally political commentary and current events, things like that, and it never really kind of got off the ground in terms of video content. I had a show with a dude named Logical Lion to start out with, and he just kind of fucking vanished off the face of the earth, so the show died. Which is why you've seen me restart my show and try to reinvent myself so many times. As for the political content, I figured out really, really quickly that I fucking hate politics. I fucking hate politics, and the worst thing is being a liberal in the current age. I basically spend most of the time looking at the news, wishing that I could off myself. And the reason I came to YouTube was after the election. I was actually really unhappy with the way that my own side was acting, and I kind of wanted to be to show that not all of us are complete commie garbage.
Right. It would seem like, in the current what the current left identifies as, they would probably identify you as a centrist now, which is from what we talked about, and we're not going to get into politics too much, or really at all. It's like, from what I know of you, you're pretty much you're classical, liberal, man, and and you've always been able to back your position up, and it's you're not a commie, so
I've been many things. Actually, when I was growing up, I used to be a person that wanted to ban guns, which I'm so glad I saw the light on that one. I used to be really far to the left. But I'm going to say that one thing that I have always said is a really, really bad idea is communism. That is one thing that I've been very, very, that's never changed.
Yep. It is yet to work. Okay, well, let's go on. All right, you've had a couple of different names, so I'm going to let you go through those. And why the avatar that you're currently using?
I've had a lot of names because I really wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with the channel. The vampire iteration is a little bit old. It used to be just me as me with another pseudonym instead of my real name. And I wanted to keep the name Thorne since it was one that everybody was already calling me. Mm-hmm. And I have loved vampires since I was a kid, so I just decided to go with the lore that I'm the most familiar with. It's basically just me picking stuff that I'm familiar with. I like horror, I like media, and somehow I was walking down the street one day and Mrs. Midnight kind of popped into my head, and I really liked the iterations, the combination of words, Thorne Midnight, so the character's name became Thorne Midnight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, and so a lot of the stuff that you do is in character, correct?
A lot of the stuff I do is in character, yes.
Okay, and that's the reason that I wanted to do this interview out of character, so you could maybe explain your character. I remember when you were going to come out with the character, and there was a kerfuffle with how that happened. If you want to talk a little bit about your character, go ahead and say hi to Goat Man in the process.
Hello, Goat Man.
That's the thing.
Oh, I have to say hi to the Goat Man? Is it a good luck thing?
Yeah. Every time Goat Man shows up, it's always good. It's a good thing.
Well, awesome. Glad you're here, Goat Man. As for the character, I'm still hashing out. I'm actually trying to write up an entire section on just her clan that she is a part of, and what Thorne is as a vampire is loosely based, or not so loosely based, off of a tabletop roleplay game and a LARP game called World of Darkness, or Vampire the Masquerade.
Okay.
So a lot of her abilities are kind of based off of a, what do you call it? When it's not the main book, but like a supplemental book of Vampire the Masquerade, or Vampire the Requiem, which is the new version of Vampire the Masquerade. This is some really nerdy crap that everybody's probably going to stare at and be like, what the fuck is this woman talking about?
Yeah, so, believe it or not, I'm familiar with VTM, at least the video game version. That was one of the first video games that I ran into when I got a computer. So this is like a long time ago, and it was an interesting game. It looked great for the day. So anyway,
did you know that people are actually like fixing that game? There's still people that mod and fix that game to this day because it had a lot of problems.
Oh yeah.
It was a great game, but it had a lot of issues. There was a lot of storylines that kind of led nowhere, and there's folks that have put in their free time into adding onto and fixing that game.
So is it like what's the word?
Cult classic, basically.
Yes,
or whatever a cult classic would be for a video game.
Yeah, I'm trying to open source. So is it kind of like, are they doing like an open source thing where people are modifying the code and shit to?
No, but they did it anyway.
Okay, all right, cool.
It's not really legal.
Oh yeah?
I don't do it. I can't program to save my life. I'm 2 steps above a Luddite.
I'm with you. I've definitely got you backed on that. So, well, let's move on, I guess, because I want to come back to some stuff that touches into that a little bit later. Why don't you tell us about what growing up as a young Miss Thorne was like? Where were you born? Or if you don't want to, go that detailed, we don't want to dox anything. Just what was the circumstances? Tell us how you're born, your life. I want to know.
When I started making videos on the internet, one of the things that I have always accepted is the fact that people might eventually figure out who I really am, and I figured that if I'm gonna be on the internet, I have to be okay with that possibility. Mm-hmm. So I don't really care as much as some people. I mean, I'd rather people not dox me, but ooh, traffic. Sorry. But I'm not that as afraid of it as some folks. I don't have a whole lot to lose currently.
I got you.
Anyways, I was born in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. So like you have the city of Chicago if you're not familiar with the area. And then you have the Chicago metro area, which reaches about 50, 60 miles outside of Chicago. And then you have Cook County. And Cook County is generally what people are referring to when they talk about Illinois as opposed to Chicago.
Right.
So it's like the entire freaking county. I grew up in a town that kind of borders Cook County and the neighboring DuPage County. So I grew up about as far away from Chicago as one could be, not be considered not the Chicago metro area anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's the suburb. I'm from the suburbs. I'm not originally from Chicago. Boomer Genocide said in a log cabin. I was not born in a log cabin. I was born in a hospital.
I cleared my throat, and I apologize, everybody. So that was gross.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah. Anyway, so all right, so you grew up in Chicago. What was that like?
In a suburb, and
Yeah.
I gotta say, the suburbs are the suburbs of Chicago are as boring as a suburb anywhere else in the world, in the United States.
So you're a child of your natural parents, or you adopted, or?
I'm adopted.
Okay, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I look nothing like my parents. My mom actually said the few times that she took me to the park, the moms there thought that she was babysitting.
Okay.
So that was interesting. A couple of them thought that they weren't sure if she was a nanny or something. It was always a very odd situation because my mother is 100% German.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and then there's me, and I'm just like this dark-haired, dark-eyed baby. And it was all very confusing for the ladies in my hometown, but you know they got over that shit pretty quickly. I was part of a closed adoption, so I don't know my birth mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I am very mixed. I'm Black, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Polish, I'm a bunch of other things. So I kind of stuck out like a sore thumb growing up.
So have you ever wondered about your parentage or anything? Tried to seek out anything about your actual birth story?
I have actually. I have a few pictures of my birth mother, and a letter from her to me, and a letter from her to my parents, and I have tried to track her down with no luck so far. All I know is that the last time I was able to find any records on her, she was living in Indiana.
So all right, so what was school like for you? Was that a wonderful experience and you had a ball, or was it?
I was the quiet, weird kid. People were never particularly mean to me. Folks just kind of didn't talk to me. So I'm an only child. I didn't have any siblings. So I basically grew up kind of on my own with not very many friends, kind of fending for myself. It's pretty lonely, actually.
Yeah. So
I didn't know how to talk to people.
So what was your refuge as a child? What did you do?
I loved to play card games with my dad, and also, me and my dad, we still play cards whenever I go over to his house. Their house, sorry.
Yeah.
And so that's always fun. It's always Crazy Eights or something, or casino, something like that. So I spent a lot of time with my dad because he'd be the one that would be home. When I got home, he'd work while I was at school, and then by the time I got home, he would be making dinner. So
you're daddy's girl.
I'm daddy's girl.
Definitely
love my dad. I don't know what the hell I'd do without him.
I know. I you know what? I kind of picked that up. You remind me, Uzi Q is the kind of similar situation. She's daddy's girl too, and I don't know. It's just for some reason I got that from you.
Also, I read a ton of comic books, and I read a ton of books too.
Okay, so that's kind of where I was going with the refuge thing. So how did you develop that fantasy life? What type of stuff did you enjoy getting into, comics wise or books wise? Explore that.
Comics wise, the first comics that I started to read were X-Men comics, and I've always kind of stayed towards the Marvel side, because once I started reading the X-Men comics, I never had much money to go to other books, as it were, so I just kept putting the same stuff on my pull list. And it was like X-Men, Black Widow, and a couple of the other female superheroes.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's I guess those are great role models, especially what you. I would imagine you grew up in the '90s.
I love Black Widow so much.
Yeah, she's a great character. There's a lot of depth and a lot of personality, and she's deadly. You know, she's. I'd be interested to see supposedly there's a movie in development. I don't know.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for a Black Widow movie. I'm looking forward to that like nobody's business.
I would love to see that too, to be honest, because I always found her character to be very fascinating and mysterious, you know.
I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. I saw it. This is actually one of my favorite ones.
I haven't seen it yet. So it's really good?
Yeah, I really liked it. I think it was really undersold as a movie. I think Marvel should have pushed it more to the forefront, but it's probably because it was the one that was following Infinity War, and they were still milking that.
No shit.
Ugh.
Yeah, I just called Infinity War. So
it deserved way better than that.
So is there like any foods from like childhood that you hated, that you like now, or?
Oh, asparagus.
Oh, really? All right.
Oh, yes, for sure. Asparagus, I always thought was freaking gross. Okay, a lot of the foods from childhood, asparagus and meatloaf, are two foods that I like now, but this is because that I love my mom to death, but she cooks like opal.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
So mom cooks like opal, and that means, yeah, a lot of pizza.
Lots of pizza, lots of lots of mac and cheese, lots of frozen food. My dad would actually make an effort, so he's actually the only one in the house that can cook a decent meal. My mom does make good like casseroles, but you know, you make those for special occasions, and special occasions was church, so we didn't get casserole very often. It was just mac and cheese again.
Gotcha.
I didn't know. When I first started dating Mr. Midnight, my mom had made meatloaf, and she put it in the fridge, and he didn't realize it was food. He thought it was an ingredient for something else, and he's like, well, I don't know how German food works.
Right.
That's the German food, babe.
You want to talk about how you and Mr. Midnight met?
Yeah.
That's a good story about that? Go for it.
Story.
Talk to us. Tell us.
Before I dropped out of community college the first time, because I'm lame like that, I kind of used to stalk him a little. Because I thought he was cute, and he was going to school at the time before he enlisted in the Marines. I went and stalked him a little, and one day, like, he was sleeping on the couch, and I'm leaning over the couch. I'm just like, he's cute. How the hell do I ask him out? And then he woke up and looked at me, and I didn't know what the fuck to say. So I asked him, like, hi, do you want some sunflower seeds? Okay. And he said yes. And 3 years later, I found out he hates sunflower seeds. He just thought I was cute.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had sunflower seeds as instead of bubbles at our wedding.
Well, that's cool.
Because it's funny.
Yeah, no, I get that, man. See, there's like that kind of that humor. It's that's once when you get into a marriage, and stuff, and you have that that communication and those jokes and stuff. I don't know. I value that kind of stuff. I think it fleshes you out more. See, this is the kind of stuff that I love to talk to people about when I do this this interview thing. Because it helps me. I don't know. Get like more, who you are inside. You know what I'm saying? We all, we all get on this internet thing. It's like it's easy to kind of like I don't know how to say it, but like just kind of resist being who we are, and it's okay. Everybody is different, and everybody's got a unique coolness about them, and that's what I love about people. I've always loved people. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself when you were like 7 or 8 years old, what would you tell yourself?
Just talk to other people. They don't know what the heck they're doing anyway. They're 8. They're 8 too. They don't know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Hell, I'm 30 and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, the moment you figure out everybody else is faking it, it's like, fuck. Are you kidding me? I know, man. Oh God, I was real slow with that shit.
That is the most useful information that you could probably tell your past self. Is that, don't worry, no one else knows what the fuck they're doing either.
Exactly, they were all faking it. Oh my God. So I always ask everybody this: do you find that you get along better with men or women?
Okay, usually men, but I find that I'm actually able to get along with women better than most women.
Okay, that's actually a good thing, because it's usually people are strong one way or the other, especially on YouTube. For some reason, it gravitates towards women that are more easy talking with men and stuff, which can lead to some problems, as we have seen.
Yes, we have.
And we shall not even touch, not even get close to that.
No, we won't. Yeah, but I think it's partially stems from the fact that since I always grew up like hanging out with my dad while my mom was at work, I kind of became a tomboy.
Okay. Did you play like softball or anything like that? Do any sports or?
I never played sports. I more just kind of sat around with my dad, and I would read books, and he'd watch like westerns and old police procedurals and stuff like that.
Cool.
Sorry about the background noise.
Yeah, shit.
Starsky and Hutch, like not so much the hang on just a second. Not Starsky and Hutch so much as Law and Order.
Oh, okay.
That's been on for like 14 plus years at this
chung,
point.
Chung. Yeah.
Chung chung. I forgot how they made that noise. They were actually saying how they made that noise, and I totally forgot. It's a combination of a bunch of stuff. I hear music.
I was gonna think
that noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do tend to get along with everybody. I think I tend to let guys get away with more shit though, which is probably not a good thing.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's I guess it's because I've known you for a while. It's easier to say that you're very comfortable in your own skin when it comes to your sexuality and stuff that you've talked about with your stuff that you do with the Zazzle. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, the pinup stuff, or?
Yeah, sure. I've always been pretty comfortable being like nude and stuff, despite my general awkwardness around people. I do sell nude posters, but they're always more the tasteful stuff. Would never be comfortable doing something like porn because I don't like really being touched by strangers that much. Again, awkward and lonely kid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. I just don't find nudity to be a gigantic, huge deal like some folks do. Oh my god, I saw a titty, the world is ending. Everybody saw Janet Jackson's titty, the children are going to be scarred for life. Children don't care. The children want the game to come back on.
Well, all right, here's a good question that I love asking people, because it's what is something about you that you don't think the public knows that you would really like for them to know? Like something that you haven't really talked about yourself that you're really, really proud about.
I don't have anything particularly that I'm proud of. I'm going back to school to fix the fact that I'm not actually proud about anything. Here's the fun fact about me is, I have this perpetual let's try English again. I have a constant paranoia that everybody hates me, and I don't know how to get rid of it. So that's the one thing I would like everybody to know about me. The reason that I haven't DM'd you is not because I hate you, it's because I probably think that you're mad at me or annoyed at me.
So that's like that sounds more like maybe a therapeutic thing. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I have, and I've gotten way better about it. Because I'm here talking to people. Yeah,
well, yeah, and it's I think a lot of people, especially people that come on YouTube, it's come in, and a lot of people think it's very important what other people think of them, and I don't know, I had to come to a place to where it's like I'm just doing what I enjoy and stuff, and if people like it, that is really cool, and if they don't, that's cool too, I've got to a point, I guess I'm just old and shit, and I don't give a shit anymore. Here's a question I love to ask people, and what's your favorite Game of Thrones character?
I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Oh my god! You are the. I swear to God, I've only found one person that's answered this question.
I am the last person. I'm
you're
the
not.
last person you think wouldn't watch Game of Thrones.
I know, man.
I
had you pegged. Oh yeah, she's a huge Game of Thrones fan. I bet she's into Tyrion. You know, so.
I know who that is, and no.
No, not in a sexy way, but in a character way. He's a great character. But anyway, shit.
I've read the first book, and I decided it wasn't for me. When I did like Ben Stark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that didn't last for long, did it?
Yeah. You mean Ned Stark, the one?
Ned Stark. Yes, sorry, Ned Stark.
Yeah,
Ned.
Like,
well,
it's cool. Ned. He loses.
If this is gonna be the rest of the series, I'm just gonna be constantly disappointed. So I'm gonna stop now.
Yeah, I want to tell everybody that that Thorne's social media, the Zazzle store, all the stuff that she was just talking about is in the description. So if you want to click over to that and look at her merchandise, there's a little thing you have to click to look at the adult stuff. So make sure you do that. You know, and if you feel like throwing a couple of bucks at her,
Is it?
No, it's not on there. I'll put your Streamlabs on there, but it's Streamlabs what? /what?
It's Thorne Inside, which used to be my old name.
Okay.
Ugh.
All right, Streamlabs /Thorne Inside, and
it won't let me change it. Why Streamlabs?
That's like, yeah, I get it. Let's see. Okay.
I read a lot of books, but I could not get into Game of Thrones.
I get it.
It's just too much.
Exactly. You know, and it's like it's one of those things. Let's go. Really, what I really wanted to talk to you about, all right, is your obsession with horror and the macabre, because you know, you do these readings of creepypastas or you know, no sleeps, and you do a fantastic job at that, and then you've also got this fascination. We've talked, you know, a lot about it, but I don't know if the people really know, you know, what's going on, you know, with that there.
I've always really liked horror, which it was the one thing that if I was watching a movie, I could guarantee that my parents would leave me the hell alone at first, because they both hate it. Like I said, they're all police procedurals, my parents, and dramas. So if I was watching something that could even potentially be scary or gory, they'd both leave the room.
Oh wow!
So I would find excuses to watch even the schlockiest, most terrible horror films, which are actually my favorite kind.
Right.
I love the horror films where I'm laughing my butt off, and my mother would come into the room and be like, "What are you watching? Oh my god!" and then walk back out again. She's like, "That man just lost his head. How are you laughing?" I'm just like, "But if you saw the part before, never mind, Mom, go away." Just let me watch my terrible, terrible horror movie with the terrible special effects.
So what's your favorite schlocky horror film?
Oh, it's got to be the classic schlock, The Evil Dead.
Okay. So
yeah,
I mean,
gotta go with Evil Dead. Evil Dead is my standout favorite schlocky horror film, and I do consider it schlocky because it's low budget.
Really? I don't know. I thought it was. I don't know. I see exactly what you're saying. But actually, I think that's a good movie. To me, a schlocky movie would be like a one that's really so bad it's fun, right? But
Killer Tomatoes is fun.
Yeah, exactly like that. You know, Killer Tomatoes, or you know, some of the trauma stuff, which is, I guess, is intentional. But I really was a big Ed Wood fan of, you know, the Glenn or Glenda, and fucking John Waters. Have you ever watched any of his stuff?
Yes, Pink Flamingos.
Yes, Divine, man. That's some.
I regretted my life.
That's not horror per se, but it is can be quite horrible to watch. You know. That's a tough watch. It's not the toughest watch, but it's pretty tough. And then you find out that the poop was real, and that's gross. No, that was a sausage. That was a breakfast sausage. That was in an interview I read that he said that they pushed it to be real, you know, to a point of, and then, you know, he said finally, he said it was really a breakfast sausage, and nobody, you know, that was in like CREEM magazine. So, and that's kind of
good.
Part,
fuck, thanks.
That's where the name the CREEMs come from. Is the CREEM magazine that I used to read when I was a young person with rock and roll and shit.
I never did magazines. I was never a magazine person.
Is there a movie or TV show that you refuse to watch and you're proud of it?
Currently, Black Lightning, because fuck that. I watched the first episode. I'll never watch anymore. Oh, and the current Star Trek. I refuse. I won't even let Mr. Midnight get Mr. Midnight watch it. He loves Star Trek, and he's mad at me now. He's like, but it's getting better. I'm just like, yeah, STDs clear up too, but does it mean that you want to get one?
Right, herpes clears up too, but it's still there. You know, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
There's a few runs of Marvel that because certain writers are behind it, I will refuse to read them, like current She-Hulk.
Oh Jesus!
Because that writer can go right to hell. I think is the writer or the colorist. Somebody on that book is a piece of crap. I can't remember who, but she's a feminist piece of crap, and I hate her. I can't remember her name though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. I should look that up. That's bad.
Well, really, to be honest, you know, it's like
Ow. Sorry.
You know, right now, I think Marvel is starting to make a turn because, I don't know, I thought that was a whole ploy all along to get create an excuse to quit selling books printed and to, you know, go just strictly digital. And then I don't know, I think that was probably a game plan that Disney wanted to go because print costs are so high, and the return on it was so bad. And then it became like this, this political shit, and then they started, we got to back our stuff. What do you mean? So they had to like double, and of course they did. They doubled down, and now, and it looks like they're trying to fix it, but good luck, man, because that is a fucking, that's a wrecked car.
Yeah, they're working on it. They actually, with Ironheart, one thing I'm thrilled that they did was that Ironheart got her ego smacked down by Thanos.
Ah.
Yeah, because she was fighting Thanos, and she basically got grabbed, and he told her something along the lines of, I could kill you, but you're so insignificant to me, it's not even worth the effort.
Holy shit.
And she's basically in the middle of a nervous breakdown.
Damn, it's like that. You ever seen the movie American Beauty? And,
no.
And like the guy tells the cheerleader chick, he says, you know what, you're just ordinary. And she was like playing herself to be this sex kitten and stuff, and she, and that was exactly he had her right in the gut, with that.
Yep, that's exactly what happened to Ironheart.
Yeah.
So I think there's hope for that character.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, because humility, I think, is something that everybody needs. Not necessarily humiliation. When they hear humility, they will sometimes think humiliation, and there's a big difference between the two.
She wasn't a character. Like, nobody in her life had ever told her she was anything other than extraordinary, and I think she had an overinflated ego because of it.
Yeah, kind of like the self-esteem generation. Yeah, no, that's a perfect a reflection. I think you've got you hit the nail on the head with that. That's an excellent. I think that's it. Well put. So what's your favorite? All right, you've talked about books. We've talked a little bit about horror. So what's your favorite horror book?
I don't read horror books, which is really, really weird to hear. But I've never been able to get into them.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. I feel like I need the visual. I can do comics, but I can't do books.
Okay.
I own a lot of The Walking Dead, so there's that.
Yeah. I'll talk to you about that off air. I just got caught up with the whatever they're calling the Commonwealth or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of stopped watching the show. I like the comics better.
Yeah. All right. is there anything that you could give a 40-minute presentation on with absolutely no preparation?
Oh God. Shit. That I can think of off the top of my head? Probably.
Yeah.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, maybe something with true crime. Yeah. True crime and forensics. And I've actually had people tell me, yeah, you need to stop talking. Like,
oh, really?
Okay. We need to stop hearing about autopsies. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, that's the other reason I like horror, is because I'm actually not grossed out by most of the gore.
So when you go back to school, what are you going to do? Are you going to do any criminology type stuff?
No, I'm going to go for digital media.
Well, that makes sense.
I need to do something creative. I have to do something creative.
I understand that totally. What small gesture from a stranger made a huge impression on you, or an impact?
A small gesture from a stranger. I don't know. Like I said, I was a pretty lonely kid. I normally don't really interact with strangers very much. Not as a kid, anyway.
All right, look, you talking about Star Trek earlier. All right, what would your mirror universe version of you be like?
Oh God. She'd probably have boobs. No, but in all seriousness, probably that bimbo. She'd be a bimbo.
Okay, so it should be a thought.
A dumb, shallow thought who doesn't really care about whatever. We'll do whatever it takes to get on top, even if it's dirty as fuck.
Got you. So what?
Yeah,
that's
yeah, sounds about right.
All right. So what about advice? What's the worst piece of advice you were ever given?
Probably that not so much advice, but people just telling me good job for no fucking reason. Yeah, cool. That's nice. What did I do good though, specifically? Like the being given empty platitudes is super harmful.
Is that like as a kid growing up?
As a kid.
What kind of conditions? Talk about that, okay? Because this is something that I'm fascinated with, and so talk about growing up in the self-esteem generation. So you went to public school?
I went to public school. Yes. Okay.
So talk about that. What was that like?
Well, you know, my school was actually not terrible. I learned everything that I needed to learn. It wasn't like I got out of school behind on anything, but here's the thing. Our school was very big on the constant praise. And here's the problem with constantly telling kids just good job with nothing else behind it, is that they expect the praise constantly, and then when they don't get it, i.e. when you're a fucking adult and no one's gonna tell you good job, you don't want to do shit anymore. So it's better, like, if a kid is painting something and you tell them good job, that doesn't fucking mean anything.
Right.
It's just a meaningless platitude. And instead you could say, oh, sweetie, I really like the way you painted the sky.
Right.
That gives them something to work off of, not just, oh, good job.
Yeah, something, yeah, be more specific. And so the generalization, what about, did you have any opinion about people that you saw that were fucking slacking, or, you know, that kind of, you know, that's something I think that would get to me, would be people that were being promoted or being, you know, just given like passing grades for doing absolutely nothing, or, you know, or not being involved. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I behaved so strangely, I actually for a while got stuck in the special ed class, which was a mistake. I should not have been in there, because when it came to reading and math and everything, I was at or above level. Mm-hmm. It's just that I was acting weird. I wasn't acting like a normal kid, so they stuck me in with the kids that were behind.
Right.
And it started to really frustrate the crap out of me that the kids who could barely tie their shoes were getting a bunch of praise, and I would get ignored when I'm actually doing all my homework. Like, by the end of class, I'd be done with my homework.
Wow.
Like, that's some bullshit. That would piss me off. And after a while, I just stopped doing my homework too, because who the hell cares?
That you see, and I always thought that that would have that kind of an effect on people, because you know it would be the example I always use is the people that, you know, Simon Cowell would tell, you know, you really suck at singing, and they would be, you know, they would you know, would back up their inability by saying that they were good, and they knew that they were good because they had been told so their whole life. You know, and of course your
that
mom,
shit there.
Exactly, your mama's going to tell you you're a good singer, right? But if you've got fucking teachers and principals and, you know, and coaches and all them telling you that you're a good singer, instead of saying, you might want to draw, you know, instead of singing. You know what I'm saying?
Or even constructive criticism in the form of, yeah, that was really great. I really like the way you did this thing. Here's what you did wrong.
Right.
Here's how you can get better. There's nothing wrong with telling a kid that they did something wrong. It's easier if you give it to them in a compliment sandwich sometimes, but you still need to tell them they did something wrong.
Right. Because how are they going to learn? How do you know? Right. How do you know what's good if you don't know what's bad, and vice versa? You know, it's like if you're always told that something's good, or you're good at something, or you're just good, then you don't have anything to measure by. So, you know, good becomes this ephemeral, like, you know, it's like this zone. It's not like you know, it's not like something to achieve. It's like a tone of gray that you can't see. Yeah, I've always wondered that. So this is this is the reason I want to do these kind of interviews, is because learning stuff like that, because I knew that this was having a negative effect on people and on kids. And it sounds like to me that you weren't challenged enough, and that maybe
I was bored.
You were socially, you know, awkward a little bit socially, which probably would have sussed itself out, and you know, right, and you probably needed more challenge in given tougher stuff to do. Because I mean, if you were like able to complete your homework, you know, before the school's over, I mean, that tells me a lot.
It's probably not hard enough.
It's probably not enough. You know, what are you going to learn? How can you internalize that little? You know, I mean.
I think part of my district's problem was that when they had the special education classes, they would stick all the kids that were having problems, regardless what the problems were, in the same class. And I think that's a huge freaking mistake.
Right, exactly. So you got people with, you know, autism, probably Down syndrome, where they're trying to mainstream them.
There was kids with autism. There was a couple of higher functioning kids with Down syndrome. There was 2 kids. There's nothing wrong with them mentally. They were just from Nigeria and didn't speak English that well. They spoke English. English was their first language. They were just having a hard time understanding the teacher because of the accent.
Right.
So they were always. I'm actually still friends with those 2. They were really freaking confused as to why they were in that class. And they're just like, does the teacher think we're stupid?
That's crazy.
I don't understand. Yeah. They're not stupid. And English is their first language. They speak with such a heavy accent, they're hard to understand.
Right.
Not anymore, but they did at the time.
Oh, wow.
But we understand the teacher, they just don't understand us.
That is fucked up.
And it was the same. We'd be sitting and dicking around in the back of class. They were one of the few friends I had, because they'd be done with their homework too.
Yeah. You know, I had a similar situation when I moved from Tennessee to Alabama, but that's, see, once again, this shit's not about me, and this is about you. So, all right, so.
Go for it. I love that shit.
Well, here's something I did want to, because we were talking earlier about, you know, before we went on, about the city. What is your biggest problem with living in, you know, in Chicago, or the city? I'm sorry.
Oh, I love Chicago. It's a great city. There's so much stuff to do here. But man, it never really shook that mobster past. It's just like that. It clings over Chicago like a shadow of garbage. With Mike Madigan, and actually people in Chicago, a lot of us call Rahm Emanuel Emperor Rahm.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stuff about that guy, man, and it's just wow.
We have a wonderful city, like a world-class city, with an absolute trash administration, and if you looked at the voting ballots, there's not a whole lot you can do about it either. That's the frustrating part. That is the part that frustrates me the most about the city. I don't know what to do.
That's sad. What's your favorite thing about living in the city?
Oh, it's super convenient to get anywhere. I don't even own a car.
Right.
The L system in Chicago is amazing. You can actually just hop on and go pretty much anywhere you want in the city within 45 minutes to an hour. You can be on the south side. I don't know why you would do that, but you can do that if you wanted to get shot.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing about the city. Folks constantly call it Chirac. That's only a few neighborhoods that could be considered Chirac. I would like to make that known, because the rest of us are perfectly fucking normal. Thank you very much. We don't know what the fuck their problem is down in Inglewood.
But yeah, it's like I hear that there's like, you know, there's shooting and stuff, you know, down there. But I've also, you know, I have a friend that lives in Oswego, and he worked in the city and stuff. So he would have like it was a hell of a trip really for him. But
I was about to say that's really far away. I know that is.
I know, man. And he would just you know, talk about how beautiful the city was and stuff, man. And you know, but how it was such a you know, there was just, you know, there's like whole quadrants where you didn't go, man, because it was, and it wasn't a, you know, what a racist thing. It was just like a, fuck, if you want to live, man, you know.
Oh yeah, it has nothing to do with the color of your skin and everything to do with self-preservation.
Exactly, man. It was like, yeah, you just don't go there, you know. And,
last I checked, the thugs in Inglewood will rob black people just as much as they'll rob white people. So
money,
they don't give a fuck.
That's right. It's all about the green, man. You know.
Pretty much. Yeah, I don't go. And the kicker about Chicago is that even in some of the worst neighborhoods, there's still some really great places to visit. If you are a real big fan of food, there's a really great chicken and waffles place in Inglewood. Garfield Park has the Garfield Park Conservatory, which I highly recommend, especially in the winter if you haven't seen any greenery in a while. It's only like 6 feet from the green line. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
So
for real, just leave before dark.
So
leave before like 7.
So the conservatory is like a botanical garden type situation.
And the whole thing is indoors. I mean, they have exterior gardens too, but the whole thing is indoors. There's an entire tropical garden.
It's like a glass ceiling type. Oh, dude, I bet that's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. They hold events there. It's actually a really beautiful building, and I wish more people would visit. Admission is free, but please give them money because they're still suffering from a couple years ago. There was a really bad hailstorm, and it destroyed one of the domes. So they had to put a lot of money into fixing that, and they're still kind of recovering from it. But I mean, that conservatory is real old. It's been around. God, when was it built? I can't remember. But anyway, it's a great place to get some greenery in when you go through the 6 months of winter bullshit that is Chicago.
Yeah, but on the other side.
Yeah, it's in Garfield Park.
Yeah. So what are the spring, summer, and fall like?
Spring is awesome. We've had a particularly crappy spring, but it's still been. It ended up being pretty warm. I ended up getting to swim pretty early. Chicago is great for food festivals. There's food trucks. And then when summer hits, every weekend there's another music festival. If you like a genre of music, I guarantee you Chicago has at least one festival for you. There's a country music festival. There's a bunch of rap, R&B, blues, jazz, lots of blues and jazz. There's popular artists. There's Lollapalooza, of course, and Pitchfork. So there's just so much stuff to do in the summer. There's a lot to do in the winter, too. In the winter, the museums like to hold different events, and the Field Museum is starting to do... They partnered up with this company called Off Color Brewing, and they've been using ancient ingredients and ancient recipes to make modern beer.
Oh, wow.
Which, yeah, it's really cool. They actually made my favorite beer ever. It's called Wari, and it's made with purple corn, and I was there when they launched it, and I still have the glass. It was so fun, and it was so fucking cold that day. I was so happy I got to be inside.
That sounds interesting. I love stuff made out of the purple and blue corn.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very flavorful, man.
The beer is purple. That's the kicker. It's awesome.
That's cool. That is
such
really
a weird
cool.
color. And the best part of these events at the Field Museum is they're all held after hours. So if you wanted to see the permanent exhibits with nobody else around, that's the best way.
Okay, so I guess we're kind of getting into the stretch here. Before we start to wrap stuff up, so what is? We kind of talked a little bit about the schlocky stuff and everything, but who is your favorite horror director?
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi, hands down.
I know. Yeah, hands down. I know it's a cop-out answer, but
well, you know. Well, see, a lot of people don't understand. Sam Raimi, Drag Me to Hell is probably one of the best horror movies that has ever been made.
I agree.
But he uses everything that he uses. See, it's all like stuff that people overuse, and what he's done is basically how to make a great horror film, right? Mm-hmm. Using like jump scares and shit properly, because I mean everything that's in that film is done there purposefully and perfectly. And I'll defend that movie. I'll FITE me any day on it in real life, people. That is a great horror film. So I'm just saying. So yeah,
also Dark Man.
Oh God, see, and that's something that nobody gets is that he wanted to do The Shadow, and they wouldn't let him do it. So he said, "Fuck you, I'll do my own Shadow," and that's
pretty much,
And
The Shadow is great, by the way. Great comics.
Yeah, and the movie is the Dark Man is so good, and it's such a okay. We got.
I mean, you can't really argue when you look at his filmography. He's filmed so many just great movies. Not all of them are horror movies either, but most of his good shit is horror movies. Because you have like Crawl and The Grudge, and what else? Evil Dead, and subsequent Evil Dead. You can't really.
Well, Evil Dead 2 is just like Evil Dead. If I had a budget,
yes.
If I had a good budget, and so that makes perfect sense to me. And Evil Dead 2 gave Campbell the chance to show off his comedy chops, right? I've got an original one sheet of it right behind me. I mean, I love the movie. To me, that is the best of his early era. The first two Evil Deads though are in Army of Darkness. Goddamn, all three of them. You're right, man. You've got me hands down. Sam Raimi is a great horror director. My personal favorite, and this is just me, is Cronenberg, especially his stuff from the 80s, beginning with Videodrome. Well, even maybe the stuff before that, but The Fly and the remake of The Fly. And stuff. So yeah.
The Fly is one of the few movies that has the very rare ability to gross me out.
Yeah, the trilogy is Scanners, Videodrome, and The Fly, right? And then there was the hardcore sexual transmitted disease trilogy he did before that. And he started getting out of the sex and horror combination thing and going more towards, you know, just you know, violence and where that comes from, you know, in a person. So,
Drag Me to Hell is, I think, super underrated. I really enjoyed it. A lot of folks thought that some of the effects and the things that she was going to were too over the top, but I kind of think if there's a demon possessing you, that seems about right.
You know what? We might do like a circle or a rabbit type thing, and maybe have a Drag Me to Hell watching one night and invite some people from. You know, hit my server up or your server or something, and we'll just do a watch it party. Because that's a fun film, man. And I forgot how good it was, and I popped it in. I loved it.
Race reminded me of the maggot birth dream sequence and Fly.
In The Fly, yes.
Well, okay, I think the only genre of horror that can actually really freak me out, I think, is body horror.
Yeah, oh shit, and that's a whole genre in itself that can flip people out, man. Yeah, especially Asian, man.
Oh God,
they do body
What is
horror.
it with Japan?
Yeah, they love that shit.
What is it with Japan? They just hit the nail on the head with the movies that make me itch.
Uzumaki, man. That yeah. And
that dude. There we go. There's some. That's what I mean by, like, I couldn't think of his name for some reason, and I'm very sorry.
And then the movie's done by the guy that did Cult. Shit, I can't remember that director's name though, but Aiden Paladin turned me on to him, man, and it was like those movies are fucked up too. So
the comics are so much worse.
So all right, before we split, you were talking about doing some new reading stuff. What kind of programming you got coming up for the people that they can look forward to?
Well, the program that I have coming up, I kind of want to talk about Crew Crime. God, I'm having trouble with English today, which is a real problem considering it's the only language I know. I want to cover some true crime, more specifically unsolved crime, and kind of maybe invite one or two people on and just chat about what they think happened in the case, because I always have a lot of fun bouncing ideas off of people, because sometimes they come up with an idea that I didn't freaking think of. Mm-hmm. So that's my current plan.
And there's literally, you know, decades of shit out there, man.
Centuries.
You know, yeah, exactly.
Also, I have two different no sleep series that I'm recording. I've actually recorded the first section of one that's simply titled "We Get Some Weird Calls in Ambulance Control," and I'm really looking forward to this because I actually saw it and it's already been done, but I want to do it anyway because I think I could do a better job.
Good.
And there's already been one narrator that covered it, and I really enjoyed hearing his rendition, so I want to see what I can do. And instead of, like, he had a 2-hour-long thing where he did all the sections, I'm going to break it up into pieces.
Killer. Well, man, God, this hour has really gone by. I mean, just like, lickety split, man. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go ahead and call it a show?
Oh, no, I think it's unless you want me to babble on about horror movies for another hour.
You know, here's the deal. I had Thorne scheduled I've got a list of people that I want to do this with, and she was kind of a couple of spots down on the schedule, and the person that I had scheduled had problems. And Thorne said she would step in. Like I just said, you want to do it, and she said sure. And that tells you, you know, how awesome that she really is. she's a cool person, and I think her content is worth checking out. She has a wonderful way of drawing you in, especially reading the no sleeps, and has a real kind of not mesmeristic, if that's a word, probably not, but kind of a hypnotic, better word.
It can be a word now. I mean, hey, the SJWs get to make up.
That's right. If they can make up words, I can too. That's right.
There you go.
But yeah, I did want to once again, Thorne, I want to thank you for coming on short notice like you did, and you were awesome for helping me out here. And next week, I'm going to be interviewing a guy named Jack T. Ripper. I don't know if y'all know him, but he's a pretty active guy around the chats. He's done the CREEM stream with me a couple times, actually more than 3 or 4 now, and he's a great dude, and he's very interesting. He's got some interesting life experiences, so we're going to explore that next week. And on that note, this is IRATE Prostate, and I'm out for another week. Y'all have a good week. Tomorrow, IRATE Monday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, and 8 o'clock Pacific. See y'all there. Take care. Until then.